What's up, upstanders? Dr. O here. And man, LeBron James had some words for Stephen A. Smith. Did you read the lips? Did you hear him saying, yo, don't come for Dr. O? Because that's what I was reading. Okay, maybe I was reading like the Swahili translation. Or maybe he would, okay, I know he was like, yo, you really interviewed Candace Owens? Like, what? Okay, that was the French version of what I was seeing. But, I just watched Stephen A. Smith's response to what LeBron said, and clearly it was what people said who were reading lips. How y'all read lips? Like, yo, that's just amazing. Basically don't, keep my son's name out of your mouth. And, okay, yeah, now look, LeBron is clearly angry in terms of what he said. So I have several things I want to talk about as it relates to unpacking this. But my larger question is really for ESPN. I saw all of the smoke that, Jemele Hill got when she called Donald Trump a racist, and got fired for that. Every time I think about what Stephen A. Smith is doing, it's like he does more and more and more to bring attention to ESPN. Negatively, positively, I guess it depends. A lot of people tuned in, I'm sure, to watch what Stephen A. Smith will say to respond. And so it's a ratings boon for ESPN. But as a man who just got like a $100 million contract with them, or is finishing up a contract with them in some way, shape, or form, is he really worth all of this? Is he worth this? Because he is, and I'm going to get to what he said about LeBron and Bronny shortly, but one of the things I've learned about journalism, I am not a journalist, but I'm saying in studying journalism and listening to journalists, like the first thing I've always heard from journalists is that you never want to make yourself the story. You never want to make yourself the story. And there was an incredible game with the Lakers and the Knicks last night, but the lead story on First Take was this interaction with LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith responding. So before you get to sports, before you get to anything, it's that. And when I look at great journalists throughout history, Stuart Scott, you can run down the list, and not just people in sports. I mean, you look at the journalists, pardon the interruption, Michael Wilbon, they're great, they're energetic, they're dynamic, but they don't make themselves the story. I don't know what Michael Wilbon thinks about anything outside of the sports stuff that he covers. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't have personality. It doesn't mean he doesn't believe in stuff. I'm just saying he doesn't make himself the center of it. But in this day where everybody has a podcast and so on and so forth, if Stephen A. Smith wants to do that on his podcast, fine, it's his podcast. He has the right to do that. But I'm seeing time and again that the stories are blending and molding into ESPN coverage. And I think that that's a problem. And I think, people are going to tune in to catch the ratings and so on and so forth. But overall, long term, that's a problem. Now, let's get to what was actually said. I think what LeBron James did, and this is another question ESPN has to ask, do you want your journalists to be enemies with the biggest names in sports? Not critics. That's fine. But I'm talking about enemies, because LeBron James, as Stephen A. Smith said, LeBron James could have easily called him. They could have Skyped. They could have texted it out, all of that. But LeBron James, who is whether you like him or love him, or hate him, I should say, whether you appreciate his moves to Cleveland and LA and whatever, he is a master of understanding how the media works. And he knows that rather than going on a tweet or whatever, post or Instagram post about this, or any way, shape, or even if you called out Stephen A. Smith by name, he went up with all of his energy and confronted him at a New York Knicks versus Lakers game. TNT, all of the eyeballs are on that. So LeBron knew what he was doing because he understands the media. LeBron James, whether, you cannot disagree with, you can disagree with this, but whether you like it or not, LeBron James is still the face of the NBA. Other people are coming up, Wembanyama, Edwards, like Curry. LeBron James is still the face of the NBA at 40. He's been playing for 200 years. Like, he's still the face. Does ESPN really want that guy going after your top guy in Stephen A. Smith? Do you want a war, with that? Is he going to be shunning the network? Like, do you want that? And again, is it worth it? When it comes to, Stephen A. Smith's comments about Bronny, he said that he was not talking about Bronny. He was talking about LeBron and his decisions. And he's saying, as a journalist, it's his job to cover these things, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing. In one of your posts about Bronny and LeBron James, you were saying LeBron as a father. You're basically saying father to father, man to man. That has nothing to do about your journalism. There are no journalistic principles in that. And so when you're, sure, we can say that you haven't said anything disparaging about Bronny. I mean, many people have said they don't feel like he's NBA ready, and clearly you said, you root for him and stuff. And I don't think anyone has any reason to doubt that you root for him. Why would hey, I don't know you like that, but I think it's sincere, when you say that you're not rooting against him. But when you come out and even if you question LeBron's moves, and a lot of people question what LeBron did, what the Lakers did, so on and so forth. But when you come out and say things as a father, we've all watched enough interviews with LeBron James to know that his role as a father and his role as a husband, given what he talks about in terms of his father not being around and everything, that he values that more than anything else. The way he goes out of his way to praise Savannah, the way that he what did you expect to happen? But the fact of the matter is, when you put out smoke, you can't really determine how people are going to decide to extinguish the fire. And that's really what it comes down to. So, and like you said, Stephen A. Smith, this was a father-to-father moment. It wasn't a basketball player to journalist moment. But really, at the end of the day, you did make it about something bigger than basketball when you were questioning his decisions as a father. Now, we can go to LeBron's statements. He wants to play with Bronny and money doesn't matter and all that. I get that. And those are all things you can critique as a journalist, as you have. But many of us feel like you just took it to another level when you started bringing fatherhood into it. And so I'm just wondering with ESPN, is this what you want? Is this the direction you want to go in? You guys interviewing Candace Owens, who got put out of another network or podcast network because of anti-Semitic comments and talking about can't question her. He's sitting there, going against the Democrats daily, disparaging people. He says his job is to make people smile, make them laugh. A lot of us ain't laughing at his critique. He's saying, off the camera. But you all know that it's all intertwined. And so at what point again, unless y'all want this, but I know so many people who've tuned out from Stephen A. Smith for many reasons. Again, he was my favorite sportscaster until he started doing the stuff that he's doing. And so I don't watch his network. I don't watch him like that anymore. I tuned in right now because this was a big news story, and I knew that this would not be a response that would have come an hour into the show, because the show is all about him and how he does it. He had to be first with it. And I think that ultimately that's not going to sit well with viewers. I think ultimately these continual things that he's doing to make himself the story, which is what a journalist should not be doing, are ultimately going to hurt the network. But I respect LeBron James deciding to confront him personally in real time in front of the world, because that's how Stephen A. Smith lives his life right now. And, LeBron James is very measured about what he does, whether you feel like he makes mistakes or not in terms of what he does. But everything he does is with a purpose. So, yeah, he could have called. Yeah, he could have texted. But he did what he did, and he's going to stand on that. And I think that Stephen A. is going to be Stephen A. because he's going to do that. He's going to continue to, do that. And he's going to have larger comments about it in his podcast and the like. But I feel like there's real conflicts going on between what he's doing in his political world, what he's doing in his podcast world, and what he's doing at ESPN. And I probably wouldn't be talking about any of this if Jemele Hill didn't get fired for less. I know I keep coming back to that, but it really matters. ESPN is really showing itself who it is at the end of the day. What do y'all think? Hit me up. Let me know your thoughts. And this is fresh off the presses for many people. If I was going to do this in French, I would talk about him telling Stephen A. Smith not to come for Dr. O. But, maybe he'll text him that on another day or something. Take care, y'all. Holla at your boy. Let me know what you think. Peace.